everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to our second Minds Matters talk show, where we'll be talking about everything that matters to your mind. And I'll be sharing some fun, meaningful conversations where I'll be leaving you tips on how to live and benefit from mindfulness. Last time we shared some mindfulness games and exercises for children and adults using our hands, technology, and how to understand and face our fears. And if you've missed out, don't worry, we've got the link on our Facebook and YouTube page for you to watch again as well. So I'm Kat, I'm your host, and I'm a mental health therapist that specializes in occupational therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy techniques. And in this hour, I'd like to invite you to join me with my international friends on understanding what is and how emotional healing works. If you have any questions or comments, we welcome you with open arms. There's no such thing as a silly question. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to answer your questions on the spot as well, because we want to make this as relevant and practical to you as well. So joining me today for this hour, we've got from Malaysia, we've got Brother Chong. He's our broadcast director for Minds Matters. And I'd just like to invite him in. I don't know if he's going to come and join us, but we call him Brother because he helps us behind the scene to run this show and connect with everybody smoothly. He gives all the credit. Hello, Brother Chong.
Hello, how are you? How's everyone doing?
Yeah, not too bad. It's morning here. What time is it over there?
It's 3 p.m. out here in Malaysia.
Great.
Very early for you today.
Not too bad. Yeah, so it's lovely to see you. Thanks so much for running the show with us. So Brother Chong is an ex-CIO. He's a very busy volunteer, but he's also a very experienced mindful practitioner as well. So it's lovely to have him running the show for us as well. So thank you so much, Brother Chong.
Have a great show ahead.
Thank you. So joining our conversation today, I'm really happy to invite you three experienced mindful practitioners of very different backgrounds. We've got one from India, Dr. Joy Bose. He is a software engineer as well. Listen to his name. And it's been really lovely to invite him. He doesn't have Wi-Fi, and he's about to be on his way to the airport as well. So it'll be good to see him join us.
Thanks, Kat.
There is this thing. Oh, hello, Joy.
Hello.
I can't really see you, but I can imagine how you might look like.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll let the internet. We've also been able to invite Dr. Koonlin Chan from China. And she's a mindfulness coach and a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner as well. We're having a very relaxing Sunday today. Hello. Hi, Koonlin.
Hi, how are you? Thank you.
Not too bad. Lovely to see you. And we've got, I'm so happy to invite as well from Malaysia, Mr. Sherab Wong, who is a well-loved coach, mind trainer, and a spiritual therapist and translator who wears many hats. Lovely to see you, Sherab.
Hello everybody. Hello, Kat.
Hello, and hello to all the audience and listeners as well. So thank you everybody for coming on board. Good to see you. So to begin, the topic for today is emotional healing. And to begin with, I was wondering, what are your views on emotions? What thoughts come to mind just now when I spoke about emotions? So I was thinking, let's have a look at what our guest speakers think. So, Koonlin, I was wondering, would you be able to share briefly your understanding or views on what emotion is for you?
According to the theory of TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, the emotion is directly related to our qi. Most Westerners nowadays, they understand what is qi and what is air. In Chinese characters, it's the same word. The air outside, the air inside your body. We use the translation air in the body. It seems very difficult to comprehend for Westerners. So we rather directly use the qi. So the Westerners, they can distinguish when we say about qi, this term, it's about the air inside our body. Because any emotion will cause energy changes inside your body. And because of the changes of your energy will change the qi. Just like when you boil the kettle, yeah, the kettle when it's boiling and then that produce steam, right? A steam in Chinese also qi. So
Okay.
has that mechanism. You know, the qi inside our body is fluid, is moving all the time, and the qi and the blood, they also directly connected. If you use block, then your blood cannot flow. If your blood cannot flow, then you are going to have problems in the area of your body, right?
So, Koonlin, so what you're saying is emotion for you in traditional Chinese medicine is that you see emotion as a combination of air, perhaps have a function around your body as well. It moves. It's like air and energy that moves around the body, and that's what emotion is made of. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Just imagine your body is like a kettle.
Okay.
We never reach the boiling point. Otherwise, we will die. High people die of high fever.
So perhaps there's a spectrum of emotion as well, then, with different degrees. Yeah, no, that's really interesting concept. I was wondering, what do others think as well? What's Sherab think? What's your idea of an emotion, or what's your view or understanding of it?
I think emotional. The word emotion itself, you break it down, is actually energy in motion, which is moving energy, as Koonlin said just now. It's the chi that is moving. You know, something you can feel, and you feel differently at different situation every day. So the chi is moving. You know, so chi, of course, is a Chinese word for energy. The Westerners call it energy. In Japanese, they call it ki. You know, this where the word reiki come from. You know, rei means spiritual. Ki means energy. Yeah, so it's a spiritual energy. So Reiki is a form of spiritual energy healing. Yeah. So when your chi is stuck or unsmooth, then you need to make it smooth. So you need some healing method to apply on that. Yeah. So I agree what Koonlin said. Emotion is something that is moving and active, and then if it's stuck and unsmooth, then you got to make it become smooth again to activate the positive chi in our life. Yeah. And it applies also, of course, like Koonlin said, chi applies in Chinese traditional medicine as well in feng shui. They call it air, but energy, I think something is more like is physics and also metaphysics, because chi is something that we cannot see, but you can feel it. Like emotion, you cannot see it, but you can feel it. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's something that we can't see, but we can feel. And you agree that actually it involves a concept where it's a lot to do with the energy and the balancing of that, perhaps?
Yes, definitely.
So, interesting. Okay, so these are really interesting ways to introduce emotions, because that's from my background. That's not how I've been introduced what emotions are as well. So it's been really interesting to hear how we can see and understand emotions in different ways. How about you, Joy? Would you be able to share some of your understanding of what emotion is for you?
Yes, Kat. Of course, I agree with whatever Koonlin and Sherab said about emotions being a kind of energy, but it also has to do with our internal dialogue, which we have in our head.
Mm,
So it's about how we interpret the experiences that we have.
mm,
And unfortunately, at least to me, it seems sometimes that negative emotions have a bigger effect, a more powerful effect and long lasting effect on us than positive emotions. At least on some people, it is the case.
mm.
Like if we have a negative experience, we kind of keep remembering it, we kind of keep playing it in our heads again and again.
Ah,
So it also has to do with the internal dialogue, how we interpret the emotion. The same emotion can be interpreted in a very bad way or also in a slightly better way. That is also there.
okay. So what you're saying is that our emotional experiences can involve an internal dialogue as well as the energy that's moving around our body as well. So there are different experiences when it comes to emotion. There's feelings, you can't see them, but you can feel them. And this feeling can be understood as like an energy or air that moves around your body, and a dialogue that runs within your brain as well. And it sounds like you mentioned there, Joy, that perhaps there's some positive, some good and bad dialogues or emotions. Yeah. No, that's really interesting. So, so I do feel from my background, we know we label our emotions with a lot of things like good or bad, but sometimes we call them sad and anger. And if you're familiar with the emotional wheel, then you'll see that there's basic emotions that we respond to, and then we have secondary emotions where actually we have different emotions because of how we judge our first emotions. So, for example, you might the car might run into you and you feel scared. And then that's the basic instinct because you're trying to protect yourself and you feel scared and anxious. But then you might feel anger. And that's because of perhaps a running dialogue of you interpreting that initial fear. Oh, I'm really angry because that person made me scared. So it sounds, so that's why I wanted to talk about emotions today, because to me, it could sound so complex, but it sounds like all of you have this really nice and easy way to understand and work with. And I know often emotions can be neglected or suppressed, which tends to be not very helpful in many cases. So I was thinking, talking about emotions and where to begin in terms of healing, I know that there's a common emotion that is often underestimated and not spoken about as much. I don't know if all three of you are aware of this, so I'm going to let you guess. Okay, and I'll let the audience guess as well. So apparently, women have 2 to 3 times higher risk of developing this mental illness or emotional condition compared to men. What kind of conditions come to mind when I speak of that? Don't know if any of you have any ideas.
Depression, I guess.
As depression, anything else? Joy, Koonlin?
Depression, stress.
Have a different body, have a different mind, and also we have a different road in the society through the history.
Yeah.
I think nowadays females are getting better and better. When you think of the past, I hate to be a female. I'm lucky I wasn't be a female in the past. I couldn't bear it when I thought about it in the past.
That's a really interesting point, Koonlin, because there has been possibly some stigma around emotions and gender, where men are seen to be somebody who doesn't express as much, whereas women can, and maybe they talk more about it. And men and women might express their emotions in a very different way and could be very easily misunderstood. So that's a really important point. But the question that I was asking, that was trying to get people to have a think about, was actually something that involved depression as well, what Sherab was saying, and stress, which Joy mentioned. And actually it's post-traumatic stress disorder. And often people think, oh, that's just to do with soldiers and veterans. in car crashes. But actually, you can get vicarious trauma where you could be traumatized by listening or watching or witnessing an event that's very stressful, say a loved one passing, an accident in front of you, or even the people who works behind Google and they're screening all the socially inappropriate videos out for us. Often they can get PTSD as well.
Yes.
So it's very subjective and it's very different for everybody. But often it sort of hides and gets hidden under stress and depression. So it's really important to have a think about that. But apparently,
I agree. I agree that women easily get stressed out or depressed or PTSD. But I also see that women is emotionally stronger than men. Today's world, especially, I can say, if they can overcome this kind of symptoms of PTSD or emotional stress or depression, I think women, for me, actually, particularly emotionally, is stronger than men. Actually, men look strong, but actually they are very weak inside.
Oh, that's really interesting.
I'm speaking about the truth,
What does Joy and Koonlin think about what Sherab was saying?
I feel that hello. Oh, okay. I just said I feel that in our society, I mean, men are probably conditioned to speak their minds less. It's a bit of there's a boy crisis kind of thing. So like we are taught to be strong and be very, very tough and not always speak about our emotions. And people are made fun of if you actually speak that I'm feeling whatever vulnerable or whatever. So I think this definitely society can change to make it much more accommodating for men as well.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting point because we can see how actually perhaps women can be really resilient, and maybe it's easy for them in some ways because it's more socially acceptable, whereas for men, because it's not as socially acceptable in some cultures, it might make them feel a lot weaker. Or maybe struggle to manage or process those emotions. Okay, no, that's really interesting because what I was going to say is actually, apparently, according to statistics, if we all, let's say all four of us, experienced a traumatic event, say a dragon suddenly came down and held a knife to our head or something, apparently 1 in 3 of us will experience post-traumatic stress disorder. So, for example, Joy, Koonlin, and then Sherab. So 1, 2, 3. Then Sherab might experience it. Yeah. So
I'm sure about that. I'm quite sure about it.
Yeah, so it's actually a very normal response and reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was thinking nowadays in this sort of really unprecedented time, we've been seeing so many very distressing information, and often I've been hearing from friends and even for myself, sometimes we can feel acutely anxious, really down. And as Joy was saying early on, we can be replaying these distressing events in our minds. And it's really hard and difficult to stop worrying because there's just so much going on and so much uncertainty as well. And I was thinking, perhaps Joy could start sharing some ideas on, what could we do when this happens? Is there anything that I could do at home rather than immediately going straight to my doctor or somebody for support? Is there something that I could look at and work around when I'm experiencing these worries, constant worries around my mind, and these things keep coming back to my mind?
Yes, Kat. So, I mean, one of the things which I read in a few places is that, like, sometimes we have some worries that keep coming, like you were saying, right? Like they keep on popping up again and again, and they make it worse than if it did not pop up more than once. So, one of the techniques which we could possibly use is to dissociate ourselves, separate ourselves and make it less likely for these worries, which could be something which happened in the past or also something which will happen to us in the future. We might be worried too much about them, and we keep picturing them again and again in our head. So if we can reduce the intensity of our projection, our picturing of these negative events, either in the past or in the future, that might be helpful, I guess. So for that, there is a technique.
So you're saying that perhaps when we worry and having things that play back, they're normally about the past or the future. And now there's a technique to sort of dissociate those memories or images or thoughts that keep going to the past or the future. Is that right?
Yes, that is
So
called
tell me
dissociation.
more about yeah.
Okay, so if you can just move to the next slide, Brother Chandra. So the trick is that whatever negative events that keep happening in our minds, we normally remember them very vividly, and we keep on playing it again and again, like a TV show or a movie. We keep them playing again and again every day, or sometimes multiple times every day. So if somebody has, for example, at work been bad to us, like a boss, or we had a fight or something, or somebody was blamed us, we keep on playing it again and again, so it becomes far worse than the original incident was, because we are ourselves telling us that this person was bad to me, this person was bad to me. So the trick is to make them less vivid, to make that memory of the unpleasant incident, or even in the future, to make that memory less vivid by doing this dissociation technique. So if you move to the next slide. Okay, so it's a little of an imagination exercise. It won't take very long. I suggest you may try to close your eyes, but if you don't need to really. So imagine that the first thing is that I hope you have identified some incident or some kind of bad, emotionally scarring thing that happened to you and that you cannot forget very easily. So if you imagine that thing, normally we are in it. We are an actor in that TV show. So if you just try to bring yourself out from that scene, what I mean is that think of this scene where you are having a bad emotional experience, like somebody is shouting at you or whatever. So think of this scene, including you, as being a part of a TV set, and you kind of bring yourself out of it. So you are a viewer, a spectator of that scene. So that scene is playing in your TV. Okay, think like that, and then you try to watch yourself as well as the other people in that scene like a detached observer, like you are pulling yourself back from there and you're just watching that scene. So one of the things to make it less vivid is just think of that scene, remove all colors from the scene. It becomes like black and white. And then maybe the sound, even the sound, try to decrease the volume of the scene. So if something is having a huge volume, you kind of decrease that, and you can play it faster, like you can make it 2x times or 4x times much faster, or play it backwards from starting to finish, from finish to start, and then again forward, and you kind of keep repeating it, so that basically you get the idea that this is just a scene. It just happened. It's just something that happened in my history, but I do not need to make it affect my present life. So it's almost like a cartoon. It almost becomes like a funny thing. You play it forward, backward, and play it faster, remove the colors from it, remove the lights from it, make it much less vivid, and so on. So that is one exercise you could do. I think Paul McKenna was one of the persons who spoke about this as well, and there's also dissociation in other places. So I've read about. So this is actually, I found it personally very helpful to get rid of or reduce the intensity of bad memories, and also things that are in the future. Also, one more thing, don't forget, like after you've done this for a few times, try to then look at that scene or look at that incident from a logical perspective. Just think of, okay, this has happened to me. Now, what can I do about it? Like, is there any action that I can do to make it better for me? Instead of being too much influenced by the emotion, think of what actions I can do. So that is one thing which we can do.
Yeah, thanks, Joy. That's really interesting. So what you're saying is we can imagine. So it's imagine that situation in our minds, but then treat it like it's a film, and you kind of use different sort of make it less vivid and personal, perhaps. You're mixing up the memories a little when you're fast forwarding or playing it backwards. And I was wondering, when you say you do it a few times, how long do we spend doing this, and how many times do we need to do this for?
I would say, Kat, that normally it's about how bad the emotion is for us. If it keeps coming to us all the time or multiple times every day, then we should do it more until it becomes less vivid and it stops coming to us too many times, until it stops affecting our quality of life, basically.
So perhaps when we have those thoughts on our mind and we're worried and we're thinking and concerned, instead of thinking it in the same style or remembering those thoughts in the same style, we can then start doing this technique whenever that memory comes to mind. Would that work?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. You can start with that, I guess.
And you were saying, yeah, and the second thing you were saying is that sounds very practical. After doing this exercise, we can then have a think about how to, come up with an action plan to do something different to help ourselves feel a bit better or resolve something.
Yes,
Thank you. That sounds
basically
really,
we have to see logically how to what we have to do. Come with an action plan, like you were saying, like to see it from a detached and logical perspective, rather than be too much biased about this person says something nasty to me. Just think about what needs to be done, what I can do to make it better. That kind of thing.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's true. Because it's kind of like bringing your mind out of your head as well. So now that you've sort of worked around processing those memories, bringing your attention from inside your head to outside, where you're going to be doing something practical and doing some problem solving.
There was
That's brilliant.
also
Thank you so
one
much for
other
sharing
thing.
that, Joy. Thank you so much for sharing that, Joy. Okay.
I also wanted to place your attention on one other thing which we can do. That is the positive side of it. So sometimes we do not remember our good memories as well as we should. Like I don't know why it is the case, but I feel that sometimes bad experiences have a higher effect on us rather than good experiences. So the opposite we can also do is to make remember a good memory, something good that happened to us in the last few months or last week or so, and try to bring it to our mind just the same way, but this time make it more vivid. Like try to be in the picture, try to play it again, like think of the sights, think about people who were around you, feel the smells, feel the emotions, like feel the happy memory more, as if it's happening right now. So if you're really feeling not so well, so just remember the happy memories that you had and make it more vivid. So that might also help for some people.
Oh, thank you, Joy. So it sounds like a good balance of exercise where we can then work with those emotions that are quite difficult for us to manage, to learn to maybe let go of them a little bit, detach them, as you said, dissociate them. And at the same time, it might be a good idea to then focus a little bit more on the positive emotions and experiences and sort of maybe enhance those. And possibly it sounds like the technique you're suggesting would make us feel a lot more gratitude or appreciation, which I know evidence has shown to increase, positive emotions and good mood. Thank you. No, that's really handy, because then it sounds like I don't even need to lift a finger to do those things. I was wondering, has Sherab or Koonlin ever tried any techniques similar to this before? Okay, so I think we're running some internet delay, and Koonlin needs to. Koonlin, would you like to press unmute?
Yeah, I think Koonlin need to unmute his mic. Okay, I will say my part first. Yeah, I think what Joy say is really meaningful. I think I read this book. It's like something like an NLP technique actually. Yeah, it's quite powerful, and you purposely visualize what situation, then dissociate from that. I think that's a very good technique to it. Yeah, and then try to think about more focus on the positive one rather than the negative memories. Yeah, I think for me, I think emotional, uh, our emotions are our responsibility. Responsibility means our responsibility actually. How you respond to it.
Mm.
You have the ability to respond in a more constructive way, whether through the dissociation technique, detachment technique. So by thinking of emotion is energy in motion, and then responsibility means you have the ability to respond to it positively actually. And then the third point I want to stress here is that how you think about stress, your perception about stress will decide your stress level. If you think positive about stress, you're willing to welcome stress with open heartedness, then probably you receive less stress at the end, and then you will be able to transform that stress to become something positive and powerful. They say the stress, or what is the stress? The word stress, stressed, right? If you read it backward, what is that? If you read
Let's
it
see if
backward,
I can spell.
yeah,
So it'll be
STRE
SSERS.
Stresses.
ED, STRESSED, stress, right? I'm stressed. So you
Oh,
read, spell the
yeah.
other way around. What is that?
D
What would that be?
D. Uh, hold on, I can't. I need
Do it now.
somebody to help me here.
It's,
So
it's
is
some,
dessert?
yeah, yes, yeah,
Ah,
yeah. You think it that way. When you think about stress, you think about the word, and you there's it. Yeah, something's good,
oh,
something's positive. It's coming out
nice.
from the very thing itself. You think is negative and
Yeah.
stressful, and you turn it around with words, play with words, then it become positive. Yeah, this is how
Okay,
you
that
transform your mind immediately. Yeah,
that
yeah,
is actually really
yeah,
interesting. I don't, yeah, I think I've heard this for a long time ago, but I didn't quite think about it that way. So what
yeah,
you're saying is, I quite like how you're saying emotions are responsibility, then you broke them up as in we can respond to them, have the
yeah.
ability to respond to them. And that
Correct.
actually, if you switch the words the other way around, is actually something more positive than what stress
Yes,
appears to be.
yes,
I
yes.
mean, I'm assuming a lot of people do like desserts and it tends to be quite
Yeah, true.
pleasing
Yeah.
and
Now
delicious.
the good memories is coming back. You dissociate with the bad memories.
Oh,
So you do that. What Joy has explained just now in one word, just one word, stress itself.
yeah.
You do it. Yeah.
Oh, that's really clever. So just in
Oh.
using that one word when you're thinking, oh gosh, I'm so stressed, all I need
Yeah.
to do is just turn it around and remember actually if I turn it around, it becomes
Yeah.
dessert. So you kind of then triggers that idea that perhaps if I am stressed, I can always turn things around, just like I turn the word around.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Perhaps,
And the more you do this exercise, the more confident you are when you face with another new level of stress in the future. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, no, that's a really
And
interesting point. Yeah.
yeah. Mm. Then you become more and more fearless and confident. Yeah. And
Yeah, yeah.
emotionally balanced, and your chi will be balanced and flowing, all these things. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it sounds like an important point to actually perhaps start with our minds to just even change that approach because once you're in a much more positive state of mind, then naturally you'll perhaps then feel a lot better. When you feel a lot better, then you're able to perhaps think a bit more straight,
True. True.
manage better as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, great stuff.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, so speaking about emotions and looking at different ways to dissociate through, verbal techniques. I know Joy have given really good ways for us to dissociate, like a movie or a TV, and Cher's just, given us a really easy trick just with the change of words to help us switch that mindset. Just that 1 second can be quite powerful.
Mm.
I know both of you did mention, as well as Koonlin, about the importance, not just about the words and the things that we say to ourselves in terms of an emotional experience, but also how emotions are actually energy and air as well. I was
Mm.
wondering, perhaps, I don't know if Koonlin wants to tell us a little bit more about how that works, this emotional experience to do with air and what we can do about that.
Can you hear me now? Before I speak, my mic always be muted by the host. So I don't know who is the hosting, because if I unblock it, but it's often come back to my mic being blocked by the host.
That's okay. So yeah, so Brother Chong has been helping us manage. I think we've all got different internet speed, so
Right.
there's a little bit of a delay. That's all. So
Yeah, yeah.
Koonlin, I can hear you. That's okay. So
Okay.
would you like? Yeah.
To me, there are many different ways to deal with your emotion. Of course, if you are brave enough, if you can make your emotion, your negative emotion become your friend, yeah, and work with it. Like you can do the quiet, the silent way, or the exercise. There are two type. One is, we call it moving mindfulness, and one is silent mindfulness. So normally with silent mindfulness, you do some kind of meditation, many different type of meditation, and meditation itself also you can deal with your negative emotion directly if you can cope with it, if you can make your emotion to be your friend. If at the time is too much, you cannot deal with it, then you do something, you try to get away from that emotion for that time being, like intervention. Yeah, you can also do all type of meditation to get away from your negative emotion for the time, and until you are brave enough to deal with it. And there's this one simple way, it's called 3 steps. De-stress your emotion. First is you try to relax your body, and then feel the blockage of your emotion there, and try to really face it. See whether you can find it from the location, the shape, the color, the everything, whether you can find your emotion in a solid form. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And then that is you're brave enough to deal with it. Then imagine the surrounding area, and surely your emotion is blocked somewhere. It cannot be a whole body. So other part of your body are healthy, and other part of your body can help your problem area with the blood flow, with the chi energy through your
Yeah.
yeah.
So Koonlin, can I
Yeah.
just pause you there for a little bit and ask you, so just to clarify my understanding, so emotions can be seen like an energy, and what you were saying that there are actually 2 really helpful techniques to manage these emotions, which you call them more of a moving, active, or silent mindfulness, where you spoke about sitting or moving. And then you went on to talk about actually facing those emotions. I know sometimes these emotions can be really hard to face, and often we might want to avoid them. But it sounds like you're suggesting that facing them might be more helpful. And one of the ways to face them is by imagining them, these emotions, in a solid form, which is actually a little bit new to me. And
Sorry, it's imagine.
is this a solid form? Like, yeah.
It's not imagining.
Sorry?
It's not imagine. It's really you try to search yourself inside to feel, to where's the problem, and try to be as a detective, as a researcher, to search the actual problem area if you're brave enough. Yeah. And
So are you saying that? Yeah, sorry. So are you saying that instead of imagining, that's good that you clarified that. So instead of imagining, it's actually paying closer attention to how these emotions might feel physically in your body?
Yes, whether you can find it in a solid way, a vivid way.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. So, for example, like when I'm really nervous, I tend to notice that my stomach is really tight. I know for different people, they might have sweaty armpits, they might even want to go to the toilet. or they've got like a itchy head. So would those be examples of like identifying different solids and forms of physical manifestation of emotions? Would those
Yeah, but
be good
when
examples?
so that is the way that you are really dealing with the negative emotion, closely watching it, just like you're a researcher, and see whether you can find how this emotion bothering you or affect you. But actually, normally you cannot find it. Okay, you cannot find the exact emotion in a solid form. So when you go through that process, your problem, your negative emotion normally being reduced and reduced because you can't really find it. You can try, you be brave enough to look for it. But if it's too strong, you just try to get away from it. You can go for a shower, to rinse it through your shower, to go for a jog, or to do some kind of meditation, to please yourself, imagine somewhere wonderful that you can get away. So there's two situations you have to learn about yourself. And the other one is active. The active for the Chinese method, the Chinese TCM, you can always do some kind of qi exercise or massage, acupressure. Acupressure, there are certain points are very helpful to calm down your emotional problems, like the point, which is directly connect to your heart. Yeah. So if you keep pressing it, even you cannot sleep because you're getting irritated or frustrated. And if you use your left hand, press your right hand, and the right hand press your left hand and massage it, and slowly, your heart, because the heart in Chinese medicine is the same as your mind, it's the same word. But in English, we have a different word. Yeah, because the abstract heart directly affecting your actual physical heart. So if you do this massage directly, relax your heart, that is also help to relax your mind.
That's really interesting. So what you're saying is, not only is it important to look at how we're feeling and how we're seeing and how we're approaching our emotions, but actually the impact it has on us physically, around our bodies. And so it's actually a really good way, instead of working directly with these emotions, we can then actually just work with our body first.
Yeah. We separate the emotion into 7 emotions. And the 7 emotions, they are directly connected to your organs, different organs. So if you can identify your emotion and you can try to ease that part of your organ, that means that can, like if your anger, the anger affects your liver. And if you can do some acupressure to ease your liver, and that can also help your anger at the time. Some is like as I said just now, it is related to the heart, yeah. And then some point is related to your kidney. If you have fear, that affect your kidney. So that the different energy, that different negative energy block the chi of that organ.
So you're saying that with emotions, when we're responding to certain circumstances and we have these emotions, these feelings, they can directly affect different parts of our body. So you're saying fear can affect your kidney, or is it liver now? So
your heart, your lung, your liver.
okay, so it sounds like you've got some information there. Perhaps you could share them on the page for us with a little bit more detail later on all these different emotions that might affect different areas of our body. That'd be really interesting. And I was just wondering, so you're saying as our emotions it's important to notice that emotions can affect different parts of our body. So if we want to work with those emotions, all we need to do is, as you're saying, a bit like a scientist, pay some gentle attention to those areas of our body and perhaps help those in those different ways, like with acupuncture, to actually just doing something physical like running that might help our lungs. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, because for the theory of Chinese medicine, the medicine, all to do the qi is all to do with your energy. Your emotion is also energy. So the emotion affect the qi, the energy in the form of qi. Then it affects your different organs. So if you can remove the blockage or ease the blockage of that organ, that means you are soothing, you are releasing the emotional problem in the area.
That's really, yeah. No, I can see some sense in what you're saying now, because it kind of reminds me how, when you talk about blockage, it's like heart attack. And, when you have different heart disease as well, often they're very closely linked to stress. And it sounds like, when you work with the mental stress, actually, there's some physical as well. And it sounds like it's really important for us to also pay attention to our body, to our physical health, and in order to manage those emotions, as well as using some verbal techniques to manage those emotions with our minds. So thank you so much, Koonlin, for sharing those really helpful tips. I was wondering, we're talking about all these different emotions and healing in different ways. Maybe just to go into a little bit more depth about how about not just experiencing emotional difficulties in a daily, everyday activity. I was wondering, for those who practice mindfulness as well, to an extent, when they go for spiritual retreats and things like that. I don't know if anybody has any experience of any sort of emotional distress, even when you practice mindfulness. I don't know if Sherab might be able to tips around it, because I heard that I hear that you do a lot of spiritual kind of work, and I was wondering, even if you're able to be so mindful and you have all these spiritual practice around managing your emotions, do people ever experience some emotional distress, and what can we do about that?
Yes, there's a special term for that. Actually, it's called spiritual bypass. Actually, spiritual bypass is that spiritual practitioner, those who are interested in spiritual practices or even some healing modalities, they tend to use spiritual ideas or practices to avoid or to suppress, to run away from the very emotion that they are dealing with or they're supposed to deal with. Yeah. So this kind of escape, like, can be an escape from their emotional issues or psychological wounds or unfinished tasks. There's a deadline, you want to run away from that, and you hide yourself into the kind of spiritual realm of ecstasy. You feel good, you kind of feel good in a cloud nine kind of state. But the shadow, the thing that you are, what I said before, like what you resist persists. The emotion that you need to feel, but you push it away, it becomes a shadow. Yeah. A deep shadow inside you. Then at the end, that's why you say many spiritual teachers or so-called gurus, right? They have scandals. They have emotional problems. Sometimes some of them are addicted. This is what I remember. This is what Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche called as a spiritual materialism. For mundane, for mundane people, like when we are empty, you're hollow inside, you go for drinking, smoking, etc. Right? But spiritual people, when they are empty inside, or they want to run away from the emotional problem inside, they go for retreat.
That's an
Yeah.
interesting point, because I do know quite a few people where they tell me they're addicted to retreats, and I was thinking, oh my god, retreats are so difficult. Why would you be addicted to them? And they tell me that they have all sorts of I don't know experiences with their mind. They feel like they're on drugs, but they don't even need to take a drug to feel like they're on drugs.
Yeah, but they're having spiritual drugs. Yeah, but they're having just a temporary picnic from the problem that they are facing now. So they want to go, to become happy, want to go blissful, become peaceful, become relaxed, just for temporarily escape actually. But it's never the ultimate solution for
so what you're saying is actually it's quite normal for us to, when we feel these emotional distress, to use different ways to manage them. And it's important to ask ourselves the question, are we distracting ourselves? Are we avoiding it? Or are we actually facing it?
Exactly. So the method itself become another distraction actually.
Okay.
Instead of really facing the problem, or to embrace the emotion that you are supposed to be facing now, you try to use an antidote to fight with it. So there's a confrontational relationship between you and the emotion.
Okay, so it sounds like it's important to know that mindfulness is really helpful to help us perhaps pay attention and help us with our health as well, but then to also think about the intention behind it, because that makes huge difference as well.
Yes. So instead of giving you the final or ultimate solution, you have only this false sense of security and happiness, which is not true. But you believe you want to lie to yourself that it is true, but it's not true. Just a temporary relief actually, no?
No, that's really interesting, and I think that's a really good point, because often it's a bit like phobia as well, where we use different things to avoid it, and it could be something spiritual, it could be mindfulness, it could be chanting, but as long as you were saying, as long as the attention is not facing it, but is to avoid it or to erase it, then actually it's maintaining the fear or distress in the long run. It's kind of suppressing it. And I know we have the white bear experiment. I don't know if anybody has heard about it, but if you try to suppress a thought, they're more likely to come back again, and they come back stronger. And perhaps this relates to our emotions as well.
Yeah. For example, if you can ask yourself, tell yourself, don't imagine a pink elephant.
Okay. Yeah.
A pink elephant will appear in your mind actually.
Yeah. That's very true.
If you tell yourself, I don't want to be this, I don't want to be like this, I don't want to be like that, you'll become like that.
Yeah, and I never even thought about a pink elephant before you mentioned it. So now I'm thinking about it now.
It's coming out, right? Yeah.
So in that case, what can we do when this happens, when you recognize, actually, because I think it's a good, it's important to have this awareness. And once you have this awareness, that sounds like a really good start, because then you can start making some changes. But then what do you do next then from there? What could you do?
I was thinking of you can have a 5-step therapy I just thought of just now, five steps of kind of therapy. Yeah. It's comprised of 5 S. First is to see it, to see that the problem or the emotion is really there. That means you disassociate from your emotion. You become you're witnessing that. You're observing, You become aware, or you become mindful that there is emotion there. Okay. So first one, seeing. Okay. Second is to slow down. Whatever you're doing now, you're thinking, you are feeling, or you are speaking, you just slow down the process. So first is seeing, and second is slow down. I think third one, you just stop everything. So between this emotion and next emotion, between this thought and next thought, you find the space there. There's a space in between there.
Oh, sorry. As you're mentioning the word stop, can I just pause there for a little bit?
Yes.
And just, so you were saying that, so we're going to observe things, and once you observe, seeing it,
slow down,
and then we're slowing down.
And then you stop
and you
there.
Take a pause, you stop. Okay.
You take a pause, and then,
so I was thinking, just talking about stopping as well, just wanted to also thank Joy for joining us today, because I know Joy's got a flight to catch.
Yeah.
So I'm just stopping here a little bit just to say goodbye to Joy, just for
goodbye,
now.
Joy. See you next time. Bye.
Thank you for joining us.
Have a safe trip, Joy.
Thank you, Joy. Bye.
Bye.
So so you're saying, okay, so we're going to see things, see our emotions.
Slow down.
And then so we're going to slow down. How do we slow down?
Just make your emotions slow down.
Physically kind of slow down as well.
Yeah, I feel slow down, and your speech also slow down, your thoughts also become slow down. And at the end, you stop. You find a place where between this emotion and next emotion, or this thought and that thought. There's a blank place there, empty space there, where nothing happened yet. Okay.
Okay.
So then the thought is to be joyful, like Joy just left. Okay, smile. Just smile like Buddha smiling. Smile in that empty space of whatever you call it. Smile, and this is the fourth one. Just, I mean, really, just smile out. 5 is a send love, sending love to the emotion. Yeah, embrace the emotion with love. Yeah, when love exists, fear cannot. You can only have one emotion at the same time. Yeah. When you have love, all the other emotion will not be there.
That's really interesting. You can have one emotion at one time. So I suppose sometimes when I feel really confused and unhappy and angry, are you saying that actually in that one moment I'm just feeling one and switching from one emotion to another rather than feeling two at the same time?
So you start the process. You see that you're unhappy or sad or fearful, and you slow down and you pause. You stop, and in that space of blankness or emptiness, you smile like a Buddha smiling. Then you send love to that emotion. Then let love do the work. Then the love will embrace the emotion and become, I don't know, something will happen there. Something wonderful is coming. Yeah.
Could I give you an example? And can you show me how that looks like? So, for example, if I've had a breakdown in relationship, I'm feeling really stressed and sad. How do you send love? Like when for example, you've been abused. How do you send love to this emotion of anger and fear?
Okay, when I have my own personal experience when my mother died. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Few years back. Yeah. So I had this kind of feeling. So when you have this kind of tremendous sadness in your mind, when you reach the peak or the highest maximum level of your sadness, right, you'll be surprised that you feel suddenly empty. When you cannot go further, there's a blankness of there's a blankness there, emptiness there. So in that emptiness, you'll be surprised. A certain kind of bliss or joy, which is your original state of mind, will appear. I don't know when you have this kind of experience. When you become sad, you become very, very sad to the maximum level. If you pause and you see yourself you are being sad and you slow down and you pause at the right moment, then something, unreasonable joy will come.
Okay.
Because so that's the quality of the mind when it shines, Just like when there's very cloudy in the sky, right? And after the heavy rain, the clouds go away. Then you get a big blue sky.
Okay, I see. So you kind of like sit through those emotions, and when you do, and you pause and you stop and just watch those emotions, then
and you sit with that,
right. So
and be willing to be with that emotion and see what the message is. Normally, a joyful state of mind will appear. Yeah.
Okay, joyful. Okay, so how do you send love to those emotions? Can you demonstrate or?
You just send like in Buddhism we call metta. Just send that, I'm willing to hug you. I'm willing to embrace you. I'm willing to be with you. You are a part of me actually. We are not separate actually. I'm willing to know you. What is your message actually? Yeah. Let's have a conversation.
Okay. So you're having a conversation with your emotions and you're being really kind to it. Like, I'm feeling so angry and I'm going to just be okay with that anger and be really kind to that angry feeling.
Accept that first. Accept that you're angry now. Don't run away from your anger. And then be with the anger. Smile at the anger. And then talk to it. Sending love. Yeah. Sending love. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So there's a nice, easy way to remember the 5 S's.
Yes.
The 5 ways and stages to go through just when you don't know what to do. Because sometimes when you're so emotional, it's really hard to make really good decisions and think straight.
Yes.
So something really short and easy to remember.
Yeah, just like 5 steps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Smile and send love. Just remember the Buddha. Buddha is always smiling when he sits.
That's true. A lot of spiritual leaders do have this sense of
Yeah. Even the Dalai Lama, always smiling, always sending love, emanating positive energy of love and compassion. And That's a good example of this. Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like it's important to reach out and share this loving kindness, not just to other people and to other situations, but also to yourself and to your own emotions as well.
Yeah, we need to start
Seeing
with
your emotions.
ourselves. It's inside out thing, you know. You can't heal or help the world without helping yourself first. I think it has to be inside out thing. Start
But
with
sometimes
ourselves.
you might feel guilty, like you're being selfish or something.
Okay, then sit with that guilt, the feeling of guilt. Then, yeah, when you feel selfish, okay, I feel myself, I'm selfish. Then slow down, see that the emotions happening in you. Slow down, stop, smile at the feeling of selfishness. So that's the emotion probably that you need to heal first. Yeah, and then send love to that guilt or whatever selfishness that you're feeling. Actually, then like what Joy says just now, the self, that's not me. Actually, you start to dissociate, you know, from there.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And speaking of guilt and sort of sending yourself love, it kind of reminds me how actually in CBT, and probably similar to what Koonlin was saying before, is actually sometimes we can have what we call unjustified guilt. So we'll
Yes.
feel guilty and then we think, oh, well, we shouldn't feel guilty. But then
Mm.
one of the healthier way to deal with that is just by continuing to do the right thing. Because sometimes when we
Yes.
feel guilty, it might stop us for something or avoid something. But instead of using those strategies, do a bit of what Koonlin was saying. Do exercise, do problem solving, do something physical. Keep doing the right thing physically. And that will help us change those mental emotions and possibly face that feeling of guilt as well. And
Basically, just get dissociation with the negative chi and make yourself more aligned with a positive chi. I think that would be good. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Koonlin wants to say something to that.
Yes.
Yeah. For us to get used to some kind of meditation or to quiet with yourself. I also had a trauma about a very incredible grief. After 3 years, my PhD research, working so hard for 3 years, back and forward in China and UK. But all my stuff, including my equipment, were all stolen in London. After 3 years work, that was an incredible grief, and I was shocked. I was shocked by myself because I thought that I've been practicing over 30 years by then, like 20, 30 years. I still had that kind of sort of close to heart attack or panic attack. But then I already arranged my 10 days retreat with the meditation center in Manchester. I only gave myself 1 day to see anything I can do before I go to this retreat. So 1 day I couldn't do anything. I tried, so I let go. I continue my retreat, and through the quietness, through those days, I could feel my heart was hardening like a hard rock. I couldn't breathe. And it was a very physical, difficult time because when your body is so used to meditation and it's easily to activate the chi, it's become so strong, and certain part is totally blocked. And that is a strong contrast, fighting. And it's just very, very disgusting feeling. Yeah. But then I got to sit with it because there's no other choice unless I wanted to leave the retreat. Otherwise, it's just 9 days. I sacrifice 1 day and still have 9 days. So by the somehow you believe your subconscious potential. When you're quiet enough to sit with your negative emotion, somehow you connect it to your, we call it the big eye, the wisdom eye, or the subconscious mind, whatever you call it. And it has the power to access you, some kind of visualization or some kind of method in your mind to deal with your emotion, to solve your problem. then you have to trust yourself. You have to trust your own conscious mind and subconscious mind, as well as your silent this acceptance to accept that situation at the time. So if that acceptance can last long enough, sooner or later, some kind of incredible solution will jump up. And even the solution, it still will take some time to go through the process, like healing process. And it really take me 7 days and 7 nights to feel relatively normal. So, of course, after then, it still took me quite some time to be cheerful, to be, like that is past, that incident is already past, or that kind of normal mindset. Yeah, but that took quite a while. But
Koonlin, I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. That sounds like such a distressing experience to go through, and it sounds like it was absolutely horrific as well. But you managed to, so beautifully to demonstrate how you accepted that, or even faced it, even though it wasn't easy for you. And it sounds like it took a lot of courage. Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing some of your personal experiences and really helpful, strategies and tips for us today. What I've been hearing is it's so important to perhaps first of all be aware of these emotions and to see them and to observe them like a scientist, having that gentle awareness. I can hear the kindness as a theme running along there. But also to be able to acknowledge it can be really difficult, and perhaps then to take a pause, to take a step back, not push yourself, but then you're not trying to avoid it as well, but sort of ride through those uncomfortable feelings. So kind awareness, sitting through, riding it through, and then sort of open your heart and mind to all these different ways that you can help yourself. From Joy mentioning about the dialogue in your head and dissociating it, to just switching that word and mindset with Sherab's, dessert stress. I suppose having your 5 fingers are very handy, because then it can remind you of those 5 steps that you were saying.
Yeah, 5S, yeah.
And so with the mind as well, with Koonlin mentioning about the physical body and the reactions and your health, just taking care of your health. So if I can't deal with those emotions, perhaps start eating healthy first, or doing some exercise and generate those neurotransmitters. That's going to be really helpful as well. Yeah, so I was thinking, I'm looking at the time right now. It's been very insightful hour for me to have a think about emotions in different ways, like air and how I can manage. And it sounds like perhaps considering these things that you're saying, it's helping me manage them more easily, and I don't need to feel like I need to rely on other people at the moment. I mean, I think it's important to reach out for services, definitely, but whilst you're waiting for those support, there's actually a few things that we can do ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing them. Yeah, Sherab, you were saying?
Yeah, I'd like to suggest maybe we could have everyone should prepare emotional journal at your hand, that you can jot down this day, like for example today, what is the main emotion that I'm feeling today. Yeah, not necessarily a negative one, but a positive one. If I feel angry today, just write down angry, and how do I apply that you have listened now, whatever method that you are using, and how does it effectively help you to deal with that emotions. That is very good. Have a record of your emotions. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Do some bookkeeping on your emotions. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be
so sort of like writing every day, just as and when.
Yes.
Yeah. Brilliant. So just wanted to, so that's a really good idea for us to put some of the things that we've heard about into practice as well. Yeah. And I was thinking, before we finish, as we're wrapping up, would you like to perhaps share with me and listeners as well any key points that you'd like us to take away from today? Perhaps, Koonlin, would you like to share any key takeaways that you think we can take away from today?
Yes. Anytime you go back to your lower abdomen, the breathing, or just do simple massage on your heart area, which is on your palm. Just simple. You get used to this kind of mental association with your positive energy. Mental and physical, mental and physical with your so you have become a habit to this kind of connection to yourself and like your own technique. Then whenever it happens, you can use it easily. And if you don't have any happen, you just improve your positive energy, improve your emotion, and it's never ending, reaching the highest point. It's never ending. You don't have to worry. Yeah.
Thank you. That's really lovely. So developing these healthy routines and habits as well. Yeah. And Sherab?
Yeah, I think our emotions comes and go, just like the clouds in the sky. But our emotions is never our true nature. Our true nature is a big blue sky. It's always very clear and very brilliantly bright and luminous. Yeah. So remember that true nature of our mind. So let the emotion comes and be with it, stay with it, and that's the best way to heal our emotions. And I also want to stress that our emotions is actually our responsibility. Our ability to respond to our emotions is our power to heal it. And the best healing start with oneself. All healings are self-healing actually. Yeah. So search within ourselves the sacred place of healing and peace actually. And we can heal our life, we can heal ourselves, we can be joyful and happy without any conditions. So be unconditional. Just be happy without any reasons.
Okay.
Be here and now. We can do it, you can do it, we can all do this together. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Sherab. That was beautiful.
Yes. Yeah.
And thank you, Koonlin, as well. That's been amazing. I feel very calm and at peace listening to both of you. And I feel like I have a few more tools in my hand to meet whatever I face for today and many days as well. So thank you so much for joining me today and sharing such wonderful information, experiences around emotional healing. And just want to thank the listeners as well for their kind attention, and I hope everyone feels like they've got something that they can bring back home and use as well. So I'm looking forward to our next meeting, our next session in October, which will be on the 4th and the 18th.
Yes.
And I know that we've been able to have the privilege to invite a clinical psychologist from Malaysia. He's also the vice president of Malaysian Association for Mindfulness Practice and Research, Dr. Mian Lo. I'll be so excited to invite her to join us and share more topics as well. I think we're going to be talking about kindfulness and joyfulness and mindfulness as well. I think those are some of the key topics that she's going to be addressing. So I'd like to invite both of you as well for the next session, and the audience and everybody. And I look forward to seeing you all, talking and sharing with you all soon as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope you all have a lovely week ahead.
You too, Kat.
See you soon. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye for now.
Bye. See you next time. Bye.